Good evening, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you? Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Can you hear
good afternoon,
me?
Sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Right.
Very well.
Very well. Thank you.
Can you? Your video is not capturing your face. Okay. It is better.
All right. So the question of how. No.
Yes, I think it's better. It's better that way.
All right.
Okay.
The light is not enough. Uh-oh. Is that light better?
It's okay, sir. We can.
Okay. All right. All right.
Okay. Are you set, sir?
Practically, I'm ready to go. I'm trying to set up another
connection.
Another machine, just to where is the Zoom? All right. I can't get the other machine.
All right. Good afternoon,
better?
Sir. Yes,
Good afternoon. My own light is not that good.
Oh, no problem, sir. We can manage it. Once we can hear you
very well
clearly, that's okay for us.
All right.
Okay.
Manage
you can adjust
the
video. Okay, yes, so that we can. Yes, fantastic.
All right. But okay, you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Okay, a very warm good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to warmly welcome you to this special edition of Inside the Arena, of course, season 24. And we have inside the arena today a very distinguished Nigerian engineer, I can call him broadcaster, a man who has caught his niche in the engineering practice and profession, who served as the president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers 1993, 1994, and also served as president of the Academy of Engineering and was the pioneer director general of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. It's my pleasure to welcome inside the arena today a very distinguished engineer, VINCENT IFEANYI MADUKA, fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow of the Academy of Engineering, and a recipient of the National Honor of Officer of the Order of the Federal Republic. And I remain your host, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
We are happy to have you inside the arena. Yeah, looking younger and younger every day. You're going to tell us the secret.
Maybe it's television.
All right, before we start, let me also lead you through the ground rules so that you can be aware of what we do. We have 3 segments of this program. The first is what we call the direct free kick, where the host is going to direct all the questions to you. And after that, we go to the corner kick, where the participants are going to also ask you questions. And then we have a caveat. When they ask any question that we consider inappropriate, we have to flag it, and you'll be exempted from answering the question. And then the final part of it is what we call the extra time. And at the extra time is the time we have to present gifts. We have to ask questions to the participants from some of the answers we are going to provide today. So the fastest finger, the fastest 3 fingers, fastest 3 people to get the correct answers correctly, which you are going to confirm, are going to be going home with beautiful prizes. And normally, the host or the guest is the one who sponsors the prizes of some friends or some children of the guests. We know at 88, if I'm not making mistake, we don't want to bug you. So some of your children, I'm going to disclose their names in the course of this program, decided to be the sponsors of these program. And we are very grateful to them. And in the course of the program, we're going to be unveiling the prizes that the winners are going to be winning today. So it's my pleasure once again to welcome you inside the arena. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I didn't know you were involved in family, but anyway, it's your show, not mine.
Okay, now we are going to go straight to the questions. You know, many of us have known you for many years, and then your involvement in the engineering profession. And many of them quite don't know or know little about your background, how you started. Can you tell us give us a brief history about Engineer Vincent MADUKA? Who is Engineer Vincent MADUKA? Your birth, your academic background, before we now come to your working, to your career as an engineer.
Well, I was born in 1935, October 5, in Lagos, and in the what they call the Ekpetedo area of Lagos. It's not a fancy area, and I went to a local school there, the Lagos Government School. From there, I gained admission to King's College, Lagos, where I went on to do the higher school certificate, A level, as came to be known later, on the basis of which I entered the University of Leeds in England to read electrical engineering. I won, well, not that I won, I suppose I won because I attended an interview for a scholarship, a Western Region scholarship, by which I read engineering for 3 years at the University of Leeds. After that, I undertook what was at that time, and I believe it still is, but that was a formalized internship or apprenticeship with the renowned radio engineering company, Marconi. I spent 2 years at Marconi, and then Western Region was setting up television in 59, and it was in 59 I was graduating at Leeds. But at the end of my graduate apprenticeship at Marconi, I came to join the Western Region Television Service, WNTV, first in Africa. After how many years? Anyway, I rose to be chief engineer there, and then general manager, chief executive, before I was appointed at the federal level to the post of Director General of NTA at the inception of NTA, making me the foundation or pioneer, let's say, Director General of the NTA.
Okay, let's leave it at NTA. We are going to, because we are going to ask you a lot of questions about tenure as the DG of NTA. Now let's take you back to your academic period. What inspired you in the first place to study engineering?
One is that engineering was challenging. If you could study engineering, the likelihood was that you did my time, because it was a challenging course. It was not for everybody. And so I was strong in physics, mathematics, chemistry, and probably in all the other subjects that I did. I think what I liked least perhaps was history. Whether it was Latin or biology or English or literature and so on, I was pretty much comfortable. But engineering was challenging, one. Two, you were pretty certain to get a scholarship if you gained admission to an institution of higher learning to study engineering. Pretty sure you get a scholarship. And more so, pretty sure you get a job. Invariably, it was going to be a government job. It was either the civil service proper or a parastatal. And there were a number of companies, but it wasn't very common in my time for Nigerian graduates to end up doing engineering in private companies other than the oil industry, perhaps, Shell and British Petroleum or whatever. So these were the reasons why I studied engineering. I also was inspired by some of my seniors whom I admired and who were also going to study engineering.
Were you the first child of your parents?
No, second. I came after a girl.
Okay, because from your name, I was just trying to get where the name IFEANYI, for those who don't understand, who don't know the meaning of the name, that is, nothing is surmountable with God. Where the name,
because all things are possible.
Yes, with God, all things are possible. Yes, I was trying to know where the name came from. I also read that after your parents had named you IFEANYI, a friend of your father named you Dele, and that became your household name. Can you share some insight about that?
Yes. My elder sister preceded me by 8 years. So my parents have been looking for me quite a while. So
I can understand now.
When I was born, it also gives the impression they've tried everything. And they said, when I was born, there is nothing difficult for God. IFEANYI. So that came. Bamidele, I was not born in the home of my parents. And so the prayer was, we prayed to take this back home with us. Now, a friend of the family in the neighborhood gave that name, and it stuck because nobody that I can think of locally in that area could pronounce the name IFEANYI. I don't think that name, but I tried. So, Dele was easier, and I was known. And today, most of my relations call me Uncle Dele.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, during your study in London and in Dublin, was that where you met your wife?
In Leeds, England.
In Leeds.
No.
In Leeds. How did you meet her?
No. I met my wife in Ibadan. After I
Ibadan.
joined the VNT. Yes. And she was studying applied physics at the University of at the University of Ife, Ibadan campus. That was when we met. And the course, the applied physics course at Ife, exempted you from 2 parts, leaving only 1 part of the IEE examination, the British Institute of Electrical Engineers examination. She then took that exam, passed it, did an apprenticeship, and was elected MIEE, the British Institute of Electrical Engineers. I think she was elected in mid-1965 or thereabouts, or 66, I can't remember. So we met when she was studying applied physics. Yes.
Wow, interesting. Now, when you were at WNTV, you worked under Engineer Teju Oyeleye, whom you later succeeded. Engineer Teju Oyeleye was a past president of the Nigerian Site of Engineers. Was he the one who introduced you to the Nigerian Site of Engineers?
I cannot say. I don't know how I was introduced into it, but I mean, I drifted into it. He might have been the one. But I was secretary of the Ibadan branch. I don't remember when I started as secretary, but I know that when the Civil War broke out, and when I had to leave Ibadan hurriedly, the war was just starting in 66, 67. Was the Biafran issue was brewing, not only brewing, but hot. And I had to leave Ibadan because the environment was no longer healthy for me. In my workplace, everybody was fine by me, and we got on very well. But I'd been searched by the police twice, and I thought, well, let me go away. And that's how I left the country to go and study for a master's degree. And my wife also went off on a grant from her employers. She was, at that time, employed by the University of Ife as an assistant lecturer. So we then met in England. Well, we met in England, we got married in Ireland. I was doing we met in Ibadan, sorry. She went to study in Wales, do postgraduate work in Wales, and we got married and then moved to Ireland, where I was doing the master's in engineering.
After serving as this general secretary of Ibadan branch, which other positions before you came to the national limelight did you hold in
No,
NSE?
nothing again. I don't remember if I was on council before I was elected first vice president. In those days, the first vice president had to contest to be president again. It was not automatic that a vice president or a first vice president succeeded the president. So I was first vice president, must have been 91, 92 perhaps. Then I contested for president and won the election.
Okay. You served as president for the year 93-94. You took over from Engineer Bola Adebisi Shonubi and
that's correct.
Handed over to Engineer Engineer Dr. Olusegun Ajayi. Was it under your tenure that the society changed the law to become, so that the NSE presidency will become one term for 1 year?
It was under, this was under my presidency. In fact,
So
what
inspired that?
What inspired that was that it's a part-time job. I will be critical of what is going on now, because now it's like winning a presidential election for Nigeria. People campaign heavily, and it becomes a full-time job while they're president. It was not meant to be full-time. Once you had an executive secretary who ran the place, the president was chairman of council, like a part-time chairman of a company. You came along at council meetings, you made resolutions, you passed them. If you had representations to make, you made them, but you were not required to leave your paid job and take up this new paid job as president of NSE. It was not a big political issue of power, of getting on to. I mean, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, because you must admit one thing, that the NSE is very much in the public view, perhaps because presidents are now full-time. But anyway, we tried to change the constitution, and there had been an NSE constitution committee that was to look ahead several years and map out where the society was going. This committee had been set up by engineer, he was Adebisi Yonubi's predecessor. He lives in Ibadan. No. Was he? Oh, okay. Inua was just before Shonubi. So this gentleman was before Inua.
Engineer FAEng.
FAEng set up the I don't know how many years ahead committee we called it, to examine the workings of the society and to make proposal for how the society was going to function and be operated for so many years to come. And one of the samples of professional bodies that attracted me, going by the recommendations of Akintude's committee, was like the Institute of Chartered Accountants. The tenure of the president is 1 year. He comes, he wears his cap for 1 year, he steps off, somebody else takes over, and the society runs itself in the sense that there is a secretariat and there are funds, and the president is, you might say, a non-executive president, but rather a ceremonial president. But not just ceremonial president, he chaired council. We needed his stamp to make matters valid in council. But he had an office which was just the place where he was functioning from when he was around. Whether he was, in the case of FAEng today, he didn't live in Lagos, and the society headquarters was in Lagos. Who else? When the Benin man was president. No, Ujama was after me. Ujama was after me. Ujama came, I think, after Ajayi. But these were the earlier presidents. Igehon didn't live in Lagos, but he functioned out of Lagos. Williams didn't live in Lagos. He functioned, he lived in Ibadan. He functioned as president. Oyeleye I think he had moved to Lagos when he became president. But you functioned as president, you left. There was a secretariat that managed the affairs of the society. The fact that that's what we did doesn't mean that it was a better thing. But if you ask my view, I think it was better because the society, the competition for position in the society has become so intense that for somebody my age, I would say that virtue is being trampled upon, or maybe trampled upon in the Nigerian context, because the power and the facilities are now looked upon more than the society itself. Now, this is an opinion I'm expressing. Doesn't mean that that is, in fact, what has happened. But these are the fears we have at the time when we thought that the presidency should be 1 year. As it turned out, when Ajayi was being president for 1 year, in fact, I remember clearly that the EGM was held in Benin. And when it came to this matter of 1 year, a number of very powerful people with very strong views did not want the change to a 1 year term. And I think the entire Benin delegation, or maybe some of them, actually walked out during the EGM that was being hosted at Benin City. So it was not something that was wholly accepted. And so it turned out that Ajayi, Dr. Ajayi, was the only one who was the president for 1 year, because after him, or maybe during his tenure perhaps, the whole thing was upturned and we reverted to 2 years. So we go by the majority view. I may have a view. And in any case, I wasn't the only one who held a view about the 1 year, because we actually voted at Benin to make it a 1 year term for president.
All right. Okay, that's interesting. Now, you've mentioned a lot of issues about the current situation in the society. If you were president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers now, what would you have done differently? That, looking at the prevailing situation in the country, what would you have, which area would you have focused more as president?
No, I would not like to get involved in that. Not unless you ask my opinion about specific things, because there is a sitting president now.
Okay.
And I'm not able to discuss how he's doing it or how he has done it compared to what I would have done. When I was president, for instance, I think I came to the NSE headquarters maybe twice a week or thereabout. I don't quite remember. I was in consulting. I had my office in Lagos conveniently, and I came to the NSE office twice, perhaps a week, sign any papers, make myself visible because I was near enough. But the office ran itself. There was an executive secretary who was a retired brigadier, the Nigerian Army. As a brigadier, he had administered an office, he had run a unit, and he supervised and was the chief executive of the NSE Secretariat. Okay. Now, they don't think that it's necessarily a better arrangement than what we have now. But in my opinion, I think it was better because you had more passion when you ran it for 1 year. You put everything in, and you got there. Sometimes people are reluctant even to take the job. I don't want to boast that I wasn't asking for the job, but some elders in the society came up to me and said there was a crisis in the society. There was a quarrel, and they needed somebody who could straddle the two wings and get the society back into one common playground, if you like.
Yeah.
So I was approached to contest that year. In fact, my wife was considerably more active in the NSE than I was. And she would probably won the election that year if she had been put forward. But what you call the elders came and said there was so much stress in the society. And I stand as president, and let's see whether we could get the society on an even keel again.
Okay, now, just like NSE, you were also president or national chairman of the Nigerian Institution of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. When was that, and what, can you give us some highlights of some of the things you did as the national chairman of NIEEE?
No, I don't remember at all. First of all, the NIEEE was, I'm not sure it was even called, no, it was not called Nigerian Institute. It was called the Electrical Division of the NSE, yes. And as a division, for instance, it didn't have a paid secretariat. It was strictly voluntary performance in the administration. And also very strictly a division of the NSE. You are functioning as a full branch, or what we call the division. The branches were geographical and the divisions were discipline. So this was a discipline within the NSE that could hold their own meetings and discuss what pertained to them most, especially professionally. And that was how we were focused.
Now, let me also take you to the Academy of Engineering, where you also served as president of the Nigeria Academy of Engineering. Now, there is this issue concerning the Academy when it was being formed. I know you are one of the pioneer members of the Academy. You know, a lot of members of the Nigerian Society of Engineers saw the Academy as a parallel body to the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and it had some opposition from members of the Nigerian Society of. How were you able to pull through to get the Academy running, and what was the brain behind the Academy that is different from what NSE represents?
Yes, yes. Historically, I was the president of the NSE in that period, 93, 94. When I asked a past president of the NSE, engineer, oh dear, but forgive me if I forget many of these things. I'll remember the name later.
Is it Falui?
He had been sorry?
Is it Falui?
Falui, Engineer Falui. He had been a past president of the NSE. And at one council meeting of the NSE, when I was president, I said, I saw a society, a group of professionals in academic gowns, parade as a professional body. And they were called, I don't remember, but it turned out they were an academy. It might have been Academy of Arts, might have been Academy of Science, I don't remember. And I said, the NSE should arrange such that our fellows of the academy, can have a forum of their own where they can also parade as the top echelon of the engineering profession in Nigeria. And could Engineer Falui please head a small committee to undertake this? And shortly after, he wasn't at that council meeting. When I ran into him or he called me, he said, "You cheeky so-and-so, I'm your senior in the society and you are giving me an assignment. Who the hell do you think you are?" So I said, well, I thought this thing was for an elder in the system. That's why I nominated. But we laughed over it. And he said, all right, let's see. And what he came up with was the academy. He then went and studied how the Academy of Engineering was established and functioned within the Commonwealth. India, Britain, Australia, I think, at least those three. And then he got together, about, I don't know how many, but there were about 40 foundation fellows of the NSE that came over, that established the academy. By the time I stepped down as NSE president, I was able to join his committee that set up the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. And so the model was not to train or to organize engineers or to provide a platform for their aspirations and development, but rather this was to be a body of distinguished engineers who, with their experience, will be able to address matters with a certain element of wisdom, both professionally and in human terms. So the entry point was then specified as a fellowship of the NSE at the least. Of course, it must be current registered, a professional engineer. Then you must have been elected fellow. You must have been a professor, because academies are largely, by their name, academically founded organization. So you must be a professor if you're coming through the academic line for at least 10 years. Then if you are coming through the practice line in engineering, you must be a director for at least 10 years. So if you are in a firm, that provides that you have been a partner, but for at least 10 years. And so what has happened with the Nigerian Academy of Engineering is that people largely who are over the age of 60. And it's rare for people under 60 to be elected. Of course, if you won the Nobel Prize at the age of 20 or 30, I don't think the Nigerian Academy of Engineering would deny you a place right away. Also, the Nigerian Academy, the concept is that you do not apply. You are sought after. You have distinguished yourself in some area, and the academy comes to invite you. It's not quite that now, but if you want to talk about the academy, we can talk about the academy also.
All right, you are the first president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers to have his wife serve as vice president of the society. You are also the first president of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering to have his wife also serve as president of the Academy of Engineering. Your wife has been, as you rightly said, she has been very deeply involved in the engineering activities. How do you feel about that? Having a family of past presidents and very accomplished engineers.
I don't know. For me, engineering was a career. And to get to the top of the career was my ambition. With regard to the Nigerian Society of Engineers, which is a professional body, I don't think I ever had an ambition there that I would like to become the president of the association, nor in the academy. Certainly not at the time that I became president in either of those places. I take the engineering, the NSE, as I said, was a little friction, call it little now, looking back in time. And some of the past presidents came together and said, look, we've got to get this society back on its feet. And we think you would assist to stabilize it. We'll put you forward. And I remember the night of the preceding the election, somebody came up to me and I said, but you're not campaigning. I said, campaign for what? I mean, I'm campaigning to go and serve, not campaigning to go and win or take anything. I'm being invited to come and serve. And somebody had made printouts, little pamphlets extolling themselves and distributing, which was perfect as far as they were concerned. But it wasn't my own idea of a professional body. But it's a distinguished honor to be appointed or elected president of a nationwide organization. And I was proud to become a president, but it wasn't something that I looked at and say, hey, how can I get to be president? And then start to work towards it. I think people just found my contributions and my generally agreeable to their perception of what a president should be, especially at a time of serious undercurrent of crisis. And they came on and said, we think you should stand election. So,
okay, now, whenever your life is mentioned, the history of your life, one part of your life that many Nigerians will always remember is the broadcast industry. In 1977, the then head of state of Nigeria, General Olusegun Obasanjo, appointed you as the pioneer DG of NTA. Shortly after that, in 1979, when the civilian administration came, General Alhaji Shehu Shagari deployed you to, or let me say, redeployed you from the NTA. And then in 1983, when Buhari's government came after the military coup, Buhari restored you back as the DG of NTA before you finally voluntarily retired in 1985 at the age of 50 to go into private practice. Now, can you share some insight first on your appointment as the DG of NTA? How did it come? Then we go into the other issues concerning your stay in NTA.
Yes, the appointment as DG NTA was it was all against all the odds. in 75, I think that was when the Murtala Mohammed government came into being. One of the earliest decisions they took was that the state stations, Western region had been named Western State when the 12 states were set up. And most of those 12 states had begun to acquire television stations. In fact, I think at the inauguration of NTA, there were 10 autonomous television stations in the country. And what General Murtala had done was to decree, well, not make, he hadn't made a law at this point. He had announced shortly after his government came into being, that all television stations in the country, which were being run by the state government, would be taken over by the federal government under one umbrella. They hadn't got a name at that time. And one of the first steps to that was that we would, all these stations would begin to collaborate in generating the main network news at night. And I was against it on two grounds. One was that I didn't think the best arrangement for Nigeria was to have just one television organization. Well, we used to have one radio organization, Radio Nigeria, NBC. And I think it was in 1953, Chief Awolowo's party, the Action Group, had spearheaded the motion for Nigeria to become independent. Motion was moved by Chief Anthony Enahoro, and it led to a political crisis. The northern elites in parliament said Nigeria was not ready for self-government, even at that time. And the southerners behind Tony Enahoro's motion were in support of self-government. This led to a national crisis. And in the process, the colonial governor made a broadcast on the network of Radio Nigeria, NBC, and criticized the southern politicians, especially the Action Group and Chief Awolowo. Then Chief Awolowo asked for a right of reply. You've criticized me, in quote, abused me on radio. Now, can I answer the charges you made? And Radio Nigeria refused access to Chief Awolowo. So the southern politicians then decided that what they needed was for everybody, every station, every region to have its own radio station. So at the constitutional conference that followed that, I think it was Littleton, but I don't want to be quoted in terms of names and dates, because I might get them wrong. But then at that constitution, it was agreed that broadcasting would then be on the concurrent list. It was on the exclusive list before. That meant only the federal could undertake broadcasting. When it now went on the concurrent list, it meant that both federal and regional governments would undertake broadcasting. And that was how the birth of broadcasting at regional level, specifically at the Western region, and the Western region was concerned. And so in 1959, Western Region government established the TV station, which then took the name First in Africa, WNTV First in Africa. In fact, what the Western Region did was that they then started with TV rather than radio. Awolowo had been criticized on radio. He had asked for a right of reply on radio. That had led to the first, you might say, liberalization of radio broadcasting. And when he came to establish his own wireless broadcasting organization, he didn't start with radio, he started with television. And he started it first in Africa. So that's the story of how TV came about. Now, the WNTV started in 1959, and I was graduating at Leeds in 1959. But remarkably, I never heard about their TV organization. In fact, I was working at Marconi, the company that set up WNTV in Ibadan. But I didn't have the foggiest clue that they were actually building equipment to go to my own country and my own region at that time. But that's how states now came to have television organizations. And when General Muritala Mohammed became head of state, he ruled that all those TV stations will be taken off the various stations and brought under one head. That single federal agency then came to be called NTA later. So that is the genesis of the television liberalization, I call it, or first liberalization in Nigeria. So I opposed it. I wrote a paper to my board, and then the board took the paper to the governor of the Western state that become Western state. There were regions when there were 3 or 4 of them. Then when they were broken down to 12, it became states. So Western state owned WNTV, and I was at that time general manager, and I wrote a paper showing why we should oppose the takeover by the federal government. So everybody knew I was against the merger of the various stations, because at this particular time, WNTV was making progress at a fast rate. The radio arm was making a surplus in its commercial operation and subsidizing television. And we reckon that within a year or 2 of this time, WNTV will begin to make a surplus also. And let me not use the word profit, but a surplus over and above its running costs. And here we are at the threshold of what we thought was pressing the tape. The federal government said, stop, we're taking over. From the business point of view, I don't believe that WNTV might have started making a profit necessarily, because if the other states around Ibadan opened up TV stations, the market that WNTV had been enjoying would obviously have become diluted and fractionalized, because we dominated from WNTV Lagos. Well, Lagos were sharing with NBC television, but NBC television was not a vigorous commercial organization. NBC at that time didn't believe strongly in commercial broadcasting, but at Ibadan, we were quite focused on commercial broadcasting. So we were competing in Lagos with NBC TV. The whole of the rest of the Western region, what was used to be Western region, was ours, except for what was Midwest state. So we dominated the old Western region practically. And
was it your letter that caught the attention of government to appoint you as DG of NTA?
No. If anything, the I expected them to be hostile to me. I never accepted the principle of what they were doing. So how would they make me the chief executive? I would sabotage it ordinarily. But I published a book on my career managing public service, public television in the country. And there I tried to tell the story of how I came to be first Director General of NTA. It's hearsay up to a point. The interesting thing I would say here is that when Oyele was the general manager of WNTV, when I was chief engineer there, when he left, he appointed me acting general manager. But by the civil service system, not necessarily the WNTV system, by the civil service system, I was not the most senior head of department. The most senior head of department was the head of programs. He was the head of programs, the creative department. But Oyele asked me to act as GM when he went away. And the military governor's office said, you can't do that. You're not the most senior, so you should not be acting. I said, fine. I didn't put myself there. I'm quite glad to go back to my work as chief engineer. And then deliberated or whatever, and said to advertise the job of general managership of Western Nigeria Broadcasting Corporation. Then I applied, and were all interviewed, and I was appointed the general manager. So when it came to the merger of all the radio stations in the country into NTA, I had two reasons. One was the social and marketing end, that we didn't see why we should lose our autonomy and be merged with the rest of the country. And two, there was a technology which the Murtala Mohammed government said they found in America called the aerostat technology. And by the aerostat technology, you needed 6 balloons floated something like 3-4 miles in kilometers anyway, above the earth. And with those 6 balloons, or 5-6 balloons, you could cover the entire territory of Nigeria with television. Now, conventionally, the very high frequency or ultra high frequency transmitters, which are the traditional means of coverage and still are, don't have a range much more than 80 kilometers. After 80, whatever reception you have is fringe. And that's a fairly large power input and very high ground, in addition to a high tower, and all those are the things you need even to cover 80 and more kilometers. Now you're saying that just 6 transmitters in the whole country, I mean, in some 5 kilometers in the sky would cover all of Nigeria. And 2-3 of us, somebody from Nitel, Bayo, Bodede, and I, were the most vociferous to say, we don't believe this thing can work effectively. And if it was such a good thing, why are they going to try it out first in Nigeria? Why is America not using it, even if they use just 1? And we're going to acquire 6. So I wrote a paper which was read in the University of Ife at the gathering of engineers. I wrote one in Lagos, and somebody called me and said, you're playing with your job. The new head of state doesn't brook this kind of nonsense. He says he's going to do this thing, and you are writing papers to say that it won't work. Better shut up. So I kept quiet after that. And when they came to appoint the to appoint the general manager at Ibadan, I contested with somebody who was head of programs, and I was head of engineering. And I got the job. Shortly after, he was made Minister of Information Federal. That's my competitor, my rival from Ibadan. And he was now the one to appoint a DG for NTA, for the new organization, or at least he was to recommend. And from what I gathered, somebody else from Radio Kaduna had been earmarked for the job, and he said he didn't want the job. And they said, all right, give it to man. That's what I heard. I wasn't there. But I know I didn't have.
Now,
but the minister whom I was now going to work with was the minister that I competed with in Ibadan. And I got the job. And then he became minister, I became GM.
wow.
It was quite,
okay.
Quite dramatic.
Yes. Now, in 1983, just give us some insight, because
sorry,
what
77, I got appointed. 70, 83.
79.
79, I got, no, 79, I was in NTA. I was in NTA then. I got appointed NTA in 77.
Yes. That's, I'm going to what, to the civilian administration of Shehu Shagari.
I got appointed under the administration of Obasanjo. Because Murtala had died and Obasanjo had taken over. So when I was appointed in 77, it was Obasanjo. But Obasanjo stepped down in 79 when civilian president Shehu Shagari became head of state. Yes. And 4 years
what
after.
happened? Why did Shagari's government redeploy you to the Ministry of Communication as technical advisor?
Partly because I was lucky. Because today they just fire you. I mean, they've been sacking, I've been reading how they are sacking heads of parastatals right now. Just sack them. The new government just comes and sacks them. In my time, the government of Shagari didn't like the way I was running NTA. They told me point blank that I was not showing support for the government. And I said, look at section so and so of the law that set up NTA. He said, we must be neutral. We must balance our news. We must not take sides. And that's what I'm trying to do. And they said, okay. Then the next thing I was fired.
They felt you were not partisan.
Well, you see, the neutrality is not acceptable. It's like being neutral between the devil and the angel. They will never accept that there's neutrality. And I agree, there's no neutrality between the devil and the angel, but there are two politicians, neither of them.
What was your assignment in Ministry of Communication when you were removed?
I was technical advisor to the ministry.
To the ministry. Now, let me, this one is a personal.
And what I did. Okay. What I did was
sometimes in life. Okay, when you were in Ministry of Communication, did you ever have any thought that you will return to NTA one day? I'm also with some of your colleagues in your NTA. Were there some of them that reached out to you when you were in Ministry of Communication? At least constantly that reached out to their former boss?
Yes, because I come to develop personal relationships. We're friends. One or two of them, we visited each other's family. My wife and I visited their family, and they visited me. At least two like that in NTA. The head of engineering and the head of programs. Yes. But,
because why I ask this question is this: it has become a norm when you see people who occupy offices. You know, a lot of people will flog around them as friends and all these, but immediately they leave the office, they become an island. Nobody remembers them. So that is, I want to know, as DG of NTA, I know a lot of visitors were always coming to you, friends were always knocking at your doors. And when you were posted out of NTA, I want to know, that's why I asked, how many of those friends were also reaching out to you when you were in the Ministry of Communication? At least to know how you were faring.
Well, you don't how my faring. I was in hospital. They just, I mean, we had a relationship, a friendly relationship, and generally we made it. The head of engineering, yes. We maintained our friendship. It was not terribly personal. It could have been, but it was, even when I was DG, we were very friendly. I mean, husband and wife on both sides. Then the head of program also.
What informed the decision by the Buhari's administration or government to bring you back as the DG?
Well, I wish I could quote the page in my book, because when he brought me back, and I paid him a courtesy call, I asked him point blank, how did you come to bring me back, sir? Because the coup was on Friday night. The Buhari coup was announced on Friday night. On Saturday morning, a vehicle came and picked me up in my house and took me to Jordan Barracks, the headquarters then of the military. And they were already picking up politicians, ministers, and so on. They were being picked up and sent to jail and imprisoned. At least we're not being imprisoned, but we knew they were picking them up that night because the news was full of that. And I was enjoying the news because I was not in broadcasting and I was not holding any top position. I was, okay, these days when somebody is announced as a special advisor, they will have a party, I think. I was special advisor to the communication or technical advisor. But the point here is that they picked me up in a military vehicle. No cars were allowed on the road on that Saturday morning. The telephone lines had been cut, and I was taken from my house to Jordan Barracks. I was afraid perhaps they were mistaking me for some minister who was to be arrested and detained or whatever. But when I got there, they questioned me on who I think should be made the new DG of NTA, because the man who was there was a political appointee. He was a university teacher. He had been brought to NTA as DG, and they were going to remove him, obviously. And they wanted me to recommend which one of my deputies when I was there should be made the DG. There was not the least thought in my mind that I was being considered. I left NTA, because during that year also, I'd gone off and incorporated a company. So I was just waiting to perfect my papers and my marketing, and then I'll be out of government when the coup happened. So it wasn't my desire, nor did I think it was possible at all. I'd never known of anybody being removed and brought back in the public service. So I recommended somebody to them who should take over from me, his virtues and so on. Then the next man. And they said, thank you. And they took me back to my house. Then later the same day in the evening, they came back and said, took me back to the barracks, took me to go and see Diagbon, who was the number 2 in command, who told me, we checked you out and you didn't do anything wrong. You were removed unjustly, simply on political grounds, and we're taking you back to NTA as DG, just like that. But from my book, I said I didn't want to go back because it wasn't a healthy job, very strenuous. I told him I wasn't going back. I said, too bad. Military, we take you back. When you get there, you can do what you like. But you go back, there's a letter for you. That's how I went back.
What can you talk about NTA of your time and NTA of today?
NGO of my time had a different challenge. One was how to weld 12 stations together and build them into what came to be 19 stations. One. Two, the main objective was how to use television to unite the country more. But then, as a television organization, as a media organization, you must be loved by the audience. You don't pay them to watch you. They watch you because they like you. They watch you because they like what you're doing. So those are the tasks. We had to cut the public acceptance. That's paramount. In America, they measure the number of viewers for every program. And that's what also determines which program has more advertisement. Like today, football is probably one of the most popular programs on television, and it's full of advertisements. And there are big buck advertisements. There are people who pay large sums of money. And then there are many programs you'll watch and news broadcasts, no adverts, which means the marketing world is not impressed. Right. So we needed to impress our viewers. Although our business was not simply to make people laugh, it's also to grow the society. We're not playing God, but we try. Any more than a teacher is playing God when he's teaching his students. We try to say these are the things which we should be doing. They're better than these other things which we will not be doing, and so on and so forth. So that was one. Then, as a national institution, we had the duty to hold the country together with what we say and do in our broadcasts. And thirdly, we were guided by a law which said what we could do and what we could not do. And then we tried to be creative, we tried to be innovative. We're taking programs.
I think your video is paused. Your audio, okay.
So we set ourselves the task of pursuing those things. And we measured our own performance by the extent to which we try to achieve those things. Because we were autonomous stations that were brought together, we also tried to respect the autonomy of each station. They've always enjoyed certain privileges, and you can say, oh, you've come together, all those powers and privileges will now reside at headquarters. No, we shared out powers and privileges to the various zones that were formed at that time. In fact, we think that the expression zone in the context of geopolitics or whatever in the Nigerian situation was invented by NTA, because we were to carry 6 programs all over the country. And so NTA was divided into 6 zones. We call them A, B, C, D, E, F. And they are exactly, well, not exactly, little changes in some of the boundaries. Well, today you now have the northeast, north central, northwest, southeast, southwest, and south-south. We'll just call them A, B, C, D, E, F at that time. Headquarters of A was Ikeja, that's the southwest zone. B was south-south, Benin. C was southeast, Enugu. D was north central, Kaduna. E was northeast, Maiduguri. and F was Northwest Sokoto. So those were the 6 zones that Nigeria was divided into for the purpose of broadcasting. And today they are the 6 zones of Nigeria's nationhood, as it were. So those are the
okay, let me
now to talk about.
Okay, go on, sir. Go on, sir.
Today, yes, abroad, we took programs from America, entertaining programs largely, some Wild West, cowboy and action films from America. We took largely what you call situation comedies, comic drama from the BBC, largely. Then we had our own local programs, again, mostly entertaining and bordering on comedy in many cases, like Zebrudaya in, what do you call it now?
New Masquerade.
Masquerade, it was Masquerade before. And it was all done in the studio, like drama, like a studio dramatic show. But then we made it more television by putting it outdoors. So everything wasn't done in the studio. We went out and we could see people walking in the street and so on. So, but it was old, it was Masquerade still. So we called it New Masquerade. All right. Then we had Village Headmaster, which was also in the studio all the time. We called it New Village Headmaster, when we took it out and you could see Oja village alive and so on and so forth. And so this was some clear steps taken in the entertainment area, which were the more challenging areas of the news must. Then we decided these foreign programs we are taking, why can't we do something similar, imitate them? And we had Second Chance, for instance, which was based on the British BBC's program where people were learning English, mind your language. People who didn't understand English were living in England, and this program showed them learning English and all the mistakes they made and laughs you could get from it. And we said, all right, let's have something similar. A lot of Nigerians come from different parts of the country to live together, and so rather than using it as only as language, we mix language with
audio. You can unmute your mic, sir. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Right. So we had a Second Chance, which in a way it was to mimic mind your language, but Nigerian context. We also had something like we had the federal government wanted to promote agriculture in Feed the Nation, Operation Feed the Nation under Obasanjo. So we started a drama, which was Cockroach at Dawn, which was located in a village, and it tried to develop a movement from the city to the farm. More enlightened people going from the city, or educated people now to become farmers and so on. And what manners of dramatic events that were unfolding. We had another drama called Mirror in the Sun, which was another program. So these are programs that we developed ourselves in a way to limit the number of foreign programs that we took and make those programs relevant to our own situation. That was some of the things we did. And then in order to do them effectively, we actually got BBC people out to train our own people on writing scripts and producing television drama. Because we wanted outsiders. I mean, there are very few TV stations in the world where all the drama and all the shows are made internally. So we invited people. In fact, first of all, we had a conference, a creative conference with people like FNSE, Pepe Clark, and the known writers of that time. They all assembled at Nike Hotel, Enugu. And they ran 2 weeks of training and script writing there. But where I'm driving to is that some of the people who attended those courses, because we brought them from outside to participate, they started writing and presenting shows on NTA. And they were the earliest producers in Nollywood. They were actually making their film on video cassettes. And you call them home video, what they were doing. Because the cinema was not a highly developed industry or enterprise in Nigeria. Very few cinemas, but the video tape was getting very popular. And people can congregate around a family or friend, and 20, 30 people watch one video. So you had the video industry developed from NTA, and then it blossomed into Nollywood. And today, Nollywood is perhaps the second largest producer of films in terms of footage in the whole world. And one of the earliest Nollywood producers actually made a contribution into my book, which I published last year, stating how they never had any exposure to proper production until NTA ran the production course for them, and then more or less said, go forth now and make programs, and we in NTA will buy from you. Because we are buying from outside, we are buying from America, we are buying from the British, we are buying from Australia. Now, let Nigerians make programs that will take. And that was how Nollywood came about. And
now,
I didn't say that.
As we wrap it up on this segment, let me, you mentioned about the book you wrote, Real Life. Yeah. My years managing public service television. Can you, tell us briefly, in summary, about this book? Because the book is out in the public domain and for people to also grab their own copy and read more about your life. Can you give us some insight, a kind of an advertisement that would make people to go and look for this book?
Advertise. Want me to advertise it? yes. But whether from the advertiser's point of view or from a serious point of view, I think it's a damn good book. It's enjoyable to read, because what I try to describe there is some of the vicissitudes and how things happened. Some of them, what I was trying to get was one thing, what happened was another. I gave the example of NTA, becoming the DG of NTA. The last thing on my mind was that I would be DG of NTA. I was known by everybody as the chief opposition to the amalgamation of TV stations in the country. Then in the book, I described how then when the committee was set up to begin to prepare for the amalgamation, I was selected to be the implementation executive. That was my title. There was a lot to be written. There were views to be brought into the law. There was a structure and all the things that would make a new corporation in the country. All the various general managers and chief executives of the existing TV stations, and there were 10 of them at that time, were meeting in the Ministry of Information in Lagos every 2 or so weeks and trying to set the thing up. And the permanent secretary said, well, we'd like to have somebody who coordinates from the Lagos end. I was in Ibadan. And somebody put up their hand and said, I nominate Mr. Maduka. Oh, I said, me? Any other nomination? No. So that's how I became the implementation executive. Now putting together the deliberations of the committee that was to set it up. Well, from the book, one day I said to the PAMSEC, this thing that we are putting up, who is going to be the chief executive? Oh, he said they're thinking of somebody. So I said, but I've been here slaving for this job, slaving on this implementation. Why can't I be the DG? He said, you? He laughed. He said, you DG? No way. So I said, all right, what do you have for me? He said, I'll be the head of engineering. I said, well, the chap happens to come from the same local government as myself, my indigenous school. So I said to him, Mpilite is a wooden plate where you eat. You grind your things there and you eat on it. I said, you don't go from that to the floor, start eating on the floor. So I can't be GM in Ibadan. I'm the king of the station. Now you tell me to come and be head of engineering under a non-engineer, because looking at the landscape, I was the most senior engineer. I didn't see them making any engineer the DG, if not me. So if you make any non-engineer DG, I will be serving on that. That's it. Is that how you run? Anyway, he wasn't in charge of appointing that, although he should make a name. So I was very surprised when I was announced as the DG.
Wow.
But yes, you're asking me about NTA today. Circumstances are different. If I was there today, I might not have done a good job, or I might not have done a job at all. So I would rather not talk about
it. All right, so it's been wonderful. In fact, it has been, if we begin to ask you questions about all your accomplishments in life, going to other areas you have also borne responsibilities, talking about the Chairman Board of Bendel Broadcasting Service. We have also the DAC and also the Lions Club of Victoria Island and the Hugo Club, ELA. And also you have also served as president and pastoral council of St. Charles Catholic Church. And also so many things, so many areas, sectors of, let me say, facet of your life you have borne, responsibility, including also being a traditional title holder of Okita of ELA, which was conferred on you in 1995. But let me mention one, which is very, very important. In fact, a national one. You have been the chairman of the chairman board, NITEL board from 2004 to 2003, and 2004 to 2005. And we have also been conferred with the National Honor of Officer, Order of the Federal Republic. On a final note, can you just, talk about your time in NITEL briefly? Then we can now open the floor for the participants to ask questions.
NITEL was very stormy, very stormy, very stormy.
Did you say stormy?
Stormy, yes, yes.
Yes.
As between me and the then minister of
how stormy was
communication. It was so stormy that the head of state, the president, President Obasanjo, asked me if I would like for him to bring me as chairman of NITEL and the minister together and settle the quarrel between us. So I said to him, you ask him what the quarrel is about and ask yourself whether it can be settled. The quarrel was simply who's going to be in charge here, right? I don't mind saying it here. He told me who should get a contract. I said, fine. We examined the contract. Just an example. We examined the quotations and so on. Company B was the lowest tender and competent. And I asked the management, can he do the job? They said yes, at a board meeting. Are you sure they can do the job? He said yes. Look at his price. And somebody put up his hand and said, but the minister tells me that it must go to company B. I said, I looked at, I said, okay, fine. CEO, you give it to company B, but you must do it at the price of company A. And they say you will never accept it. I said, fine. Give the minister's candidate, if you will do it at the price of B, if you won't do it, give it to company B. Because my business was to get the best job at the best price. The tenders were evaluated for. So I told the head of state, the president, I said, he doesn't think I'm in charge. I'm chairman. He sends me notes and I thank him. Because when I was CEO somewhere, the chairman, if he sends me a note, I'll go and discuss it with him. Now it's my minister sending me a note as chairman. When I was made minister of one of the least respected public organizations in the country, it's a story. It's interesting because all this were. Oh, let me tell you, I had my name on TV. I was actually dozing off. 9 o'clock news. My wife would say, you are the chairman of NITEL. I said, where is NITEL? He said, they just announced it. I said, really? Following day, I got the minister's number. I phoned the minister. I said, I heard on TV that I'm the chairman of NITEL. Don't you even consult people before you announce this thing? He said, listen, my friend, just come to Abuja tomorrow or the day after, and let's talk. Head of state says we must appoint you. So I went to Abuja, talked to the minister. Minister made it quite clear that I'm not his candidate. He made it clear to me. All right, let's go and see the head of state. Went to see the head of state. So I said, hey, NITEL. But you know NITEL, he said, that's why we're sending you there. We want to sell NITEL in the next 3 years. We want to privatize it, sell it. So bring it up to have a good value in that period. We want it to have value so that it can be sold in 3 years. I said, okay, my brief was so clear to me. The NITEL CEO was an expatriate on contract. The NITEL director of engineering was expatriate on contract. The NITEL director of finance was an expatriate on contract. So the idea was work for 3 years, raise the value of NITEL, sell it, and be done. My brief, that's what I took as my brief. But the ministry, now I'm not personalizing the ministry, we are used to running these organizations for themselves. That's my own reading. And that's what they tried to do with me. And I said, look here, I'm sorry. My brief is run this place in such a way that in 3 years we can sell it at a good price. And that's what I'm trying to do. And if I don't remember the name of the minister, happy. But he said something to me. He said, they brought you after you've done your bread and buttered it. They now have asked you, come and put some jam on it. And you're messing up like a child. I said, sorry, that's how I know how to mess up. So for some people, I was not doing what they wanted me to do. 12 months roughly flat. President removed me. He was tired of me making trouble. So he wouldn't fire his minister for me, but he fired me for his minister. And it's quite in order. I went home to Delta. I was returning when the secretary to the company telephoned me. There was a board meeting a week or so after that. I don't remember exactly one. And at that board meeting, before the board meeting, I was going to meet the head of state. But usually when I went to Abuja to hold a board meeting, I'll spend 2 nights. One night briefing from heads of department and the board meeting. Then that night, I'll meet with the minister. I would have met with the minister in the morning before the board meeting. In the evening, I'll try and see the president if I couldn't, it didn't matter, I'll go back. He told me on the way, he phoned me and said, Chairman, the board has been dissolved. I said, thank you. Went home, never went to a night again. But I remember that I think maybe I don't know if I'm exaggerating, maybe 10 years after Nitel was sold. I don't remember. So Nitel was, for me, a very short insight into how an organization should not be run. More interesting thing, I don't know.
A very short insight on how an organization should not be run. That's a fantastic one. Wow, it's been a wonderful time having you inside the arena today. In fact, it's a very big honor to have such a quintessential engineer like you. At just few days to 88, you are still very sound, very articulate, and looking very young. And we continue to pray that God will keep you and you continue to make your contributions to the development of this great country. We now have to go inside to the corner kick segment. But before we do that, let me also quickly, for those who are just joining us, inform us that we have inside the arena a very distinguished Nigerian engineer come broadcaster, the 18th president of the Nigerian Site of Engineers, who served 1993-1994, and the pioneer DG of NTA, and a recipient of the National Honor of Officer of the Federal Republic, who has made a lot of contributions to the development of this country in every sector he has borne responsibility. It's my pleasure to announce that we have inside the arena a very distinguished engineer, VINCENT IFEANYI. I have to add Bamidele MADUKA, fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow of the Academy of Engineering, and officer order of the Federal Republic. Now we go to the participant segment where the participants are going to ask questions. Then we come back to the extra time. Today we have 3 items: 1, a microwave; 2, a gas cooker; and a table fan, courtesy of Engineer Ademola Agoro, Vice President of the Nigerian Site of Engineers, and Engineer Bemigo. I don't know whether 2 of them are part of this. I know Agoro is on his way from South Africa to Nigeria. He should be airborne now. And Engineer Bemigo is also Vice President of the Nigerian Site of Engineers. They are the ones who have sponsored these prizes today. So if they have joined us, we will be allowing them in the course of this program to make some comments. So we quickly go to the corner kick segment. So we have the rule: if you have a question to ask, you click on the reaction button and then click on raise hand. And when we see your hand raised, we are going to unmute you to ask your question. Engineer Humphrey Okereke. Can you go on, sir?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And I can be more proud to have listened to this distinguished engineer with so much experience that we, the younger ones, we always draw from. So my question is simple, sir. If you are to advise a young Nigerian engineer now on how to navigate and achieve, if not up to what you had achieved through your career span and something similar to it, what would you tell that person? And also to say, do you think that it was a wise idea that the Nigerian state had sued NITE? Thank you.
Okay, maybe we should start with the NITE one. The Nigerian state has not sold the refineries, the oil refineries. Do they have petrol products today?
No, sir.
No. The Nigerian state has sold NITE. Do we have telecommunications today? Yes. Our telecommunications system, we joke when I visit my children who live abroad about how advanced the Nigerian mobile telecom system is compared to the American telecom system. Of course, let's not go into that. But we have a pretty well developed telecommunications system in the country today. You think that the penetration of telephony in Nigeria will be limited to largely the urban areas and perhaps the homes of ministers. It is not the case with telecoms. The remotest village, if the telecoms companies think there is business there, they will put up a station there, a tower or mast for microwave exchange of signals. In fact, they've got one step further now, I think. I'm not sure it's the telecoms companies themselves who run the distribution network. I think another company builds the masts and towers and distribution system for them. And the second largest economy in the country today, I think, is telecoms. Now, there's really no reason why electricity should not be larger than telecoms. But from the point of view of an industry and its commerce, there is a clear difference between telecoms, which is totally, I would say, privatized, as against electricity and many other infrastructure facilities in the country. This is not to say that because one succeeded, therefore all would have succeeded. But I've given an example of one succeeding, and I don't know any other one that was not privatized, that was not deregulated, and which has succeeded in the same way. Even broadcasting has been liberalized. There was only one television organization in the whole country. Today you have choice, you have competition. You decide which one you want and go to that one rather than Same one. Let me give you one more example about NITEL. Very interesting story. I sent my secretary to go and complain in 1992, perhaps. 92, anyway, just before I was made, the year I was made chairman of NITEL, completely unrelated. She went to the marina, the Bar Beach NITEL station, which will provide P&T, which will provide me service in Louis Street area where my office was, to go and complain that my telephone was down, one. Two, you needed to beg to collect your bill so as to pay NITEL. And why did you beg? One is they disconnected your service because you didn't pay, but you didn't get your bill. So you were almost obliged to pay a bribe to get your bill so that you would pay, so that your line will not be disconnected. Anyway, my secretary went to complain at Victoria Island about the letter, dribbling away more or less. So I said I will go to the territorial controller on Kingsway Road, which is now some other name. Send my secretary there. My secretary got a note to take back to the Victoria. No, the territorial controller said, if my line was not connected in 7 days, so the Monday morning that we went to report, in 7 days, I should come back. On the, I told the man in Victoria Island what the, so he said, well, you will tell the territorial controller to come and connect you. That's how the chick he sent to me. Tell him to come and connect you. Good. 7 days to that day that I complained, my secretary came to me and said, it's now 7 days. Can we go back to the territorial controller? I said, no. I'll allow 1 more day. So we say 7 days fully expired. That day was the day my name was announced on television news that I had been made the chairman of NITEL.
Wow.
I go to my office. I was running a consultancy. My staff would have been there. I would arrive around 9 or so. When I arrived at 9 in the morning, the man, the engineer at the Victoria Island, who had told my secretary to go to hell or go to your controller to tell me, was supervising the repair, the replacement of my telephone and installing a new one. So a new one. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So yes, I was the new chairman of NITEL. Right.
All right.
So
we
if I had to,
James Akele.
yes.
James, can you unmute yourself quickly?
Good evening,
Yes,
sir.
go on, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go on.
Hear.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, good evening,
Go on, sir.
And this is really an interesting moment. I'm in the office. I'm in the office at the site, but I had to just take this time to sit here and listening to you, sir, has been really, really wonderful. I just picked the statement you said. Ben had to repeat it, a very short insight on how an organization should not be run. So you're talking about like over 16 years ago. That was corruption fighting back, if you ask me. And I think this can be likened to what is happening right now with the Minister of Works. Like you said, the organization itself, for itself. So, How do you think we can really come out of this? Because I want to believe engineers are involved in all of this. How can we make it better? That's the questions I want to ask. What really is for us, you know, to hold on to see how we can make it better, how we can change things, how we can remove this mentality.
Okay, that is taken. I think I have to take the second person so that we can take the two, you can have the response to the two questions. Amos Owolabi.
I didn't get him clearly at all. It was distorting. So
okay, what he said is that he made reference to your quote that your experience in NITE was a clear picture of how an organization should not be run. So he was asking, how can we come out of this? What is because that is almost the same thing happening in other ministries, making reference to the Ministry of Works. So he said, how can we come out of this as a nation? Then we take Owolabi Amos, so we can wrap it up. Owolabi, you can go on.
Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Good evening, sir. I'm happy to be part of this arena this evening. And I'm proud to say that our guest is one of my boss. So I just have two things to ask. Daddy, I remember when I joined Lecom Associates in 2012. You were the one that introduced me to acoustics, the study of sound. When a church in Bajulaye brought a project to you, you called on me. And that spirit is in you to share knowledge, to impart knowledge even unto others. And I want to believe again that that was what brought you to, or what took you to Lagos Business School as a lecturer. Sir, you didn't mention that at all when you are giving a rundown. What necessitates your going to Lagos Business School? Then I found out that while I was there as a staff, I could see in you a high level of discipline and a high level of integrity. You always taught us to be whom you are, especially when you are managing the project in Piakasa. That is a Radio Nigeria shortwave transmitter in Lugbe, in Piakasa. As an engineer that go to site, you must be whom you are. You must make sure you know and be sure and be certain of any information you give to others. So I want to ask, this Nigerian Society of Engineers or the engineering bodies, very, very few are teaching us young engineers even to stand on our integrity and discipline. Please tell us what really motivates you. One, to share this knowledge and to ensure that we are disciplined in our business and even in our circle, in our life circle generally. What really motivates you, sir?
All right, I think we have taken note of your question. We have to go to the guest or our guest to respond to that before we move to the final segment of today's program. Thank you.
Okay. Over to me, is it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you remind me of the first man again?
So he was making reference to your comment on NITE, that was a way an organization should not, the best way not to run an organization. That yes. How can we come out of that as a yes. country?
Yes. Yes. I think it's a major question that borders on, there are all kinds of words, integrity and so on, but it's really discipline. And this means that there's a difference between right and wrong. When you begin to confuse right and wrong, or you begin to say it doesn't matter, then you will take anything goes. There's a distinction between right and wrong. When we are being brought up, we don't say that right is wrong or wrong is right. We just can't make the distinction well. That's why we fail exams. There's an answer and you didn't get it right. But you don't say that that answer is wrong and that is your own position that is right. As students, we never said so. We said we didn't get it right, so we failed. Today, if you don't get it right, you have passed. And it's not just today. I'm sure it was even like that at that time before. So a nation has to decide that right is not wrong and wrong is not right. There are distinction. And you want to go from wrong, from ignorance to right and knowledge. But when you are told that the man who has no knowledge is a better man than the one who has knowledge, and the one who says, I know that is how it should be, but that's not how, I'm not going to do it like that, and the man still gets away with it, then the whole framework, the whole basis of an existence, the bottom is knocked out. Because it means that there's no reference. When you say something is right, it's because we've agreed as a people, as a certain class of human beings, like engineers. We've said this is right and this is wrong. And if we see somebody who is doing the wrong thing, we correct him and say, hey, listen, don't you know that is wrong? This is the right one. But he says, I know, but this is more profitable. I'm happier doing it this way. I think that's all there is to it. You have to be happy doing things the right way only. You have to be happier. And nobody, you can't, no injection is going to do that. It's something inside you. It's either there or it's not there. Or it has been inculcated by your society. The Chinese are where they are because there was discipline. There is right and there is wrong. If you do the wrong thing, you can't be blessed, you cannot be promoted, you cannot be rewarded. But somebody can tell you here, this is the man who is doing it right, he's not prospering. This is the man who is doing wrong, he's prospering. He's cheered, he wears big flowing gowns, right? His hair is never, you can't see his hair, he has to cover it like with a crown all the time. That's the man who is cheered. He's the one accepted in society. Something is wrong with that society, unless that's how we want it. So right means you got the marks right as a student. Wrong is that you didn't get it right as a student. But if as a student, you got it wrong, and then you become the reference and the master and so on. That is what we don't like. That's what we cannot promote. But I don't know the answer. So if you ask me,
right, sir.
what I think. So I think that covers
okay,
that.
Sir.
The other chapter,
Yes, sir.
it's basically the same. Yes, basically the same. Sorry, I did not put, I don't think it's in the in my CV that was circulated. I was a senior fellow at the Pan-Atlantic University for 8 years. Mm. I think that's what the other gentleman was referring to.
Yeah.
Because that CV was written many years ago for something else. Mm.
All right, sir. Wow, it's been a wonderful time once again having you inside the arena. Would have stayed longer. It has been very interesting, but we have to call it a day today. As I said earlier, we have beautiful prizes to be won today, courtesy of Engineer Bemigo and Engineer Agoro. On that note, we are going to be crossing over to the extra time segment where we will ask questions, and the first 3 people to send in the correct answers will win the prizes. And the rules are that you have to wait until we say go before you send in your answers. And if you post in any answer, I know most of you are so smart that you type in the suspected answers and keep waiting for us to ask before even we ask the question. You send in your answers. This time around, once you hear go, you send your answers. The question goes this way: which officer of NITED did he go to Kingsway to see? Go. Correct spelling. Which officer of NITED, when his telephone had a problem, did he go to Kingsway Road to see? This was just said few minutes ago.
You're muted, comrade.
Okay, now we have to look at what people have sent. We have to confirm the correct answer first. Then if nobody got the correct answer, we have to take a second question. So please, what is the correct answer?
The question is, whom did I go to see when my telephone?
The officer.
Yes.
At Kingsway Road.
No, well, at Kingsway Road, the officer was territorial controller.
Kingsway. Territorial controller.
Of the NITED, yes, of NITED.
Okay, we have to go down.
Oyele is not there at all. Oyele is not there at all.
Okay, everybody is sending Teju. Oyele. Communication controller, technical director area. So from the answers we have received, nobody actually got the correct answer.
There's an area controller, which is good enough.
But no, we want the correct answer, territorial controller. Yeah. Okay. That is
right.
That is, by the way, we are going to take the next question to know who will get it right. The question goes this way: in what city did he meet Joan MADUKA? Go.
In what
city did you meet your wife? Okay, can we? So what is the correct answer?
Well, Amos Owolabi worked with my wife before, and he got it right, Ibadan.
Ibadan. So
Yes.
we will go now to know the first 3 people that sent in the correct answer correctly. Ibadan is the correct answer. I can see Micah.
Remember, if Ibadan is wrong, if Ibadan is not there, if Ibadan is wrong.
The first I'm seeing from my own side is Micah IFEANYI. IFEANYI, your namesake. Micah IFEANYI Oba is the first to send in the correct answer, followed by Kingsley Adiole, and followed by Temitayo. Temitayo are the first 3. Then I think before the other people, Nadi, Oscar, Atadino, Odema Ihanichuku, Julia Monsura, Oyekunle, Akulola, and Chinedu Joseph, and Co. That Amos also got it correctly, but the first 3 that got it from my own side are Micah IFEANYI Oba, Kingsley Adiole, and Temi Tayo. Please, can the 3 of you quickly show us your faces so that we can see you? Kingsley, Micah, where is Micah? And where is Temi? Temi Tayo, can we see your face? Is it the same Temi Tayo that won the television? Eh? I want to know. You can, okay, I have not, you can unmute yourselves, please.
Of course, Engineer Benosi, and you sent me the meeting invitation very late. So I've won again. Yes, it's the same one.
You are the Temitayo that won the television the other time. All right. Okay,
sure
congratulations. The first prize, IFEANYI, the microwave oven. The second prize, that's Adiole, is a gas. Can somebody help me to show this so that I can quickly? Can somebody help me? The second prize is a table gas cooker, and the third is a mini fan. So this is the second prize, and this is Hisense. Hey, this is heavy. Oh my God, this is the don't mind me. This is heavy. Hisense microwave, and this is the fan. It's a rechargeable fan. So congratulations, but please, we give you 3 working days to come and collect your prizes. If you don't come, we are going to put it back for the next person in the line to win. Congratulations. And finally, to our participants who want to sincerely thank you for being part of this program. We saw some of our very senior colleagues, immediate past president of Korean Engineer A.A. Rabiu, Engineer Demola Isaac, Olorufemi, Engineer Valerie Abueraba, Engineer Nkechi Sigwe, and so many of our very senior colleagues who joined us in today's program. We want to sincerely thank our guests, our very distinguished Engineer Vincent, IFEANYI Chukwu, Bamidele, MADUKA, FNSE, FAEng, OFR, for finding time to be with us today. We thank you all, and we pray that God will continue to bless you. I remain your host, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko, signing out. Thank you, and see you next time. Thank you very much, sir.
All my old friends who are the good one, and thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.